Hey guys, welcome to the next tutorial. In this one, I'm going to be going over attribute colors and how to use them. We'll go over a brief description of vertex colors and the difference, and I'll show you a couple of very easy ways and applications that this is going to work and a way it's not going to work. So let's jump right in. Alright, so get some kind of picture, whatever you want. I've been using this mech picture because that's what I'm building. And split your screen vertically and split it horizontally, so that way you can have a texture node editor here or shading workspace and an image editor here. Now I'm in the standard viewport, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and just delete the face off, and I want to put in a UV sphere, and I want to make sure that the UV sphere is at least 64 segments, rotated on X 90, so that little funky spots facing me in the middle, and then I can scale this up. And you of course don't have to necessarily have a mech, but if you did follow my tutorials then you'll actually have it. And so I'm just gonna do something generic for now. I'll go ahead and shade that smooth. I want to put a subsurf on that, bring the levels up to 3. I'll apply that. I can even put a cast modifier if I want, and I could put that cast modifier on there to make it more spherical. Okay, so you want to paint this, right? So Control Tab, Sculpt Mode. You have to pull these two little bars out right here. This is also called the T panel, so if you hit T, it'll come back and disappear. You've got brushes here for paint, and I am in version 3.4 by the way, and smear, right? So if you pull at the paint, go to this workspace, you've got your standard setup. I've got a few things saved. And one of those things I always like to do is come over here and grab a few colors for later use, just different colors I like, and then add them to the color palette. Okay, so it just keeps it very nice. Now I want to paint on this spherical body here, and so I would just go in, and under 3.4 you do have the option of selecting, view normals. You can select cavity, you can do area normals. I'm going to select view normals for this. And I'll actually jump over here as well, and let's go down under advanced, and you've got the same options here, so you can turn off cavity and go to view normal here as well, and then paint this on, and this is going to look a lot better. We'll control the brushes and everything from over here, so you can go ahead and paint this on here. Now you do have the smear brush as well, so you can kind of smear these edges around, and I do not claim to be an artist at all. I am more of an interface tutorial type of guy who likes hard surface modeling. Okay, so with all that, if you come over to view it, it's gone. It's not there. Let's check the cycles. Nope, not there either. So this is where this comes in, and I'll just go Control Tab back to object mode, and so now I've got control of this. I can click new, and as usual, this little viewport down here is always buggy when you zoom, so try to not do that if you're having that problem. I might re-download this one more time. So pull out the base color and just type in color AT, and you'll see color attribute, and if you just drop that in, voila, you're good. So let's go back over here real quick and let's do some more painting to this and kind of fill this in. And you can Control Tab, go back into sculpt mode, come back over here, and let's just dig back into the regular brush. I'm going to pull up some of these colors that I had actually saved. And now cavity and stuff like that's really not going to work on this. You know what, I'm going to choose a shinier color. Well, it's going to be shiny when I get done with it. I'll / that to isolate it. And I just want to paint the whole thing one color and then kind of like mess around with it later. Okay, so it looks good. / back, and now here I am. So now I could choose something else, maybe bring the brush size down a little bit, and then if you go from view to scene, the brush size will stay the same on scene, but it's going to change with view. So if I paint that and then zoom out and paint, I'm painting larger. Let's go ahead and Control Z, and if I go to scene and then I zoom in and I paint like that, and I paint like that, do it like this and do it like that, and then it stays the same. And so if you want that consistency, you don't have to keep going back and forth. That's going to make me pull my hair out, and I still got a lot of hair. So I'm going to go ahead and Control Z that stuff out of there because it looks funky. But there you go. So now what you want to do is you can come over here, and you can already see that. So we're going to come back. Let's do cycles. I think it's going to look nice. And what we'll do is we'll come over and we will add a metallic property to that. And as you can see, that is actually showing up. So that's a lot of fun. And then I will go ahead and bring that roughness down just a touch to accentuate that. And I want to bring up a clear coat possibly. There we go, and that looks pretty good. So you can manipulate those colors, add to them, and for the sake of experimentation, if my screen doesn't lock up, I do want to kind of mess around with this. So let's throw in a color ramp. Not quite what I wanted. Control X, get rid of that. I want the basic color ramp. There we go, thank you. Alright, so there's a whole myriad of other things that you can do to actually modify this, but let's come back over here into the sculpt mode and maybe choose another color, something like that. My high artistic ability, come back over and go back into the rendered view. You can see you're painting all that wonderful stuff in there. Alright, now if we were going to a flat surface like this, I'd come back over, select this, go to sculpt mode, select that, grab any color, and then attempt to start painting that. Then you can see that it's really just going to wash out on the edges because that's the only place the geometry is really in existence. And you could kind of fool around with that and eventually get it painted, but it's really not worth the effort. So that is the better way to do it. And I use Philogix PBR Painter Pro for that. So and just do a quick little Smart UV project, unwrap it, and I don't even have to unwrap it all the time, especially if I'm using smart materials. Choose a metallic workflow that I like or a specular, hit OK, go in and bake it with whatever settings I want, and then it's going to create some baked maps for me. Then once those maps are baked, I can come in and add my standard color, whatever that's going to be. And then I can start adding in either a smart material or a custom layer. I can put something like smart rust on there, and those maps that were baked have baked in the curvature automatically, so this ends up looking really nice, and it gives you a ton of controls. You can increase the detail and or decrease it. Then if you don't like the projection, you can just splatter it with box projection, which I know I get tore up for that one too, but it helps out a lot. And then you can kind of blend this to get rid of any seams if you have them, and so you can start mixing this up a little bit and make it look pretty nice. Alright, and for the last and final method, what we can do is just pick pretty much anything. I'll just go with this little piece right here actually, and what you want to do with this is jump over and pull up a UV editor, and if you don't happen to have the text tools, you need them, you can pull out your color IDs, and I'm just going to do 2 for now. So what I would do is I would just attach that one color ID to everything, go into edit mode, select potentially this front face, and then assign the other ID to that. So now I've got these 2 IDs, but these are not vertex colors yet, they're materials. And if you look over here, you'll see you've got materials. So if I go from materials to vertex colors, it throws me into the vertex paint. So then I have to kind of jump out of that. Now Philogix recognizes that, and I can go in and grab the red, new pick shader, hit OK, and then bake that out. Now with that done, I could just throw a basic smart material on this. I don't have to get too fancy, and I'll jump back over. And so now I've got that. I'll just throw, and when I apply that material, it of course looks terrible. So a couple things you can do. You could go to box projection and forget it, and then play around with the scale till you get something like that. It doesn't look too bad, but I'm actually going to delete that, and I'll just select everything, hit U, and Smart UV Project. 0.01 is fine. Come back over, and now I'll add the same material, the paint rusty, and it just comes up with UV looking a little bit better. And so then you could simultaneously, of course, bake the next vertex color in as well. And then of course you've got your baked maps over here so you can see what actually was just baked, and then you can add some material to that as well. And that's all been unwrapped, so that should, and I didn't go to the base layer, that should pop up pretty nicely with, yep, there we go. So that looks pretty good. So I really wouldn't have one straight up texture all the way across all this, because this whole thing may not actually rust. It may not be that type of material. It's up to me as the artist, you know, to figure out what I want to do. And I could just come over and add a custom paint layer, and we'll paint UV, click new. I'll clear this and put the asterisk and then 2. So I'm painting in 2K. Actually, just bring that up and times 2 again. 4096. Drop the alpha to 0. Hit OK. And then from here, I can just go to the paint panel. I'm going to make this very basic. And I'll just have some leakage coming through here. Then I've got this colors here that I can work with. And maybe, if I want, I can grab the teardrop here and paint some of that rust. So I've got the actual color. And then maybe there's some hydraulic leakage or something over there. And it kind of depends, you know, how you actually want to do this. How much detail, how much time do you want to put into it to make it look amazing. And I know I splattered paint all over this thing, but just for those different examples. And there we go. And once again, you can anchor that to the height channel. And I'll drop that anchor, call that material 2. And obviously I don't want that much, so maybe just a touch so it's eating away at the metal. That looks pretty realistic actually, looking like that. And then you kind of finish this thing out, and just remember as you're going, you're actually painting in the height as well, so it gives it a little bit more realism. And I can also paint in some cracks, so maybe it's got some stress cracks in it as well, right? And I have no idea where that blue just came from. That is awesome. Go back to finish. Anyhow, appreciate everybody watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial lesson.